All right, let's just jump right in. We're about to explore three of the most profound books ever written. But these aren't just dusty old texts. Think of them more like a map, an ancient, incredibly accurate map for the human experience, offering three very different paths for the journey of life itself.
Have you ever just stopped and asked yourself that? Why is there anything at all? Why not just nothing? The philosopher Martin Heidegger said this is the most fundamental question we can ask. And the really fascinating part, he believed the answer you come up with depends entirely on what he called your metaphysical mood. Basically, your deep-down gut feeling about what reality is all about.
And that's where our map comes in. The philosopher Peter Kreeft, whose work we're diving into today, makes this incredible argument. He says there are really only three fundamental moods, and so there are only three fundamental answers to that ultimate question. And each one charts a completely different course for a human life. So where do we find this map? Well, it's kind of hidden in plain sight in three amazing books from ancient wisdom literature. First, Ecclesiastes, which explores life as total vanity. Then you've got Job, which confronts life as suffering. And finally, the Song of Songs, which flips the whole script and shows us life as love. Three books, three philosophies.
Kreeft has this amazing way of framing it. He says, look, this isn't just a philosophical exercise. It's a spiritual epic. It's like a divine comedy that was written long before Dante's. It's a journey, right? A journey that starts in the hell of Ecclesiastes, climbs through the purgatory of Job, and finally ascends into the heaven of the Song of Songs. And it's a journey that plays out in all of our hearts.
All right, so let's start our descent. Act 1, we're beginning at the very bottom in what you could call the philosophical equivalent of hell. This is the world of Ecclesiastes, and it's one of the most brutally honest takes on what life feels like when meaning just evaporates. This is life as vanity. Now we have to get this right. When we say vanity, we're not talking about being obsessed with your looks. Not at all. The original Hebrew word literally means chasing after wind. Can you picture that? It's that hollow, gut-wrenching feeling that everything you do, everything you try to build or hold on to, is ultimately pointless. It's like trying to grab a fistful of air.
The author, traditionally thought to be King Solomon, was the perfect person to run this experiment because he had everything. So he tries it all. He chases after wisdom, only to find that he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. Okay, so much for that. How about pleasure? He dives in head first, and it all just gets boring. Fine. Wealth and power? He amasses tons of it, still can't buy meaning. Well, what about helping people, altruism? He realizes he's just giving vanity to other people, which is still vanity. So finally, he tries religion, and finds only a distant, silent God. Every single path under the sun just leads to a dead end.
And this leads to a fascinating paradox. It's not foolish to see that life can feel meaningless. In fact, the brilliant philosopher Blaise Pascal argued it's actually the beginning of wisdom. The real vanity, the real foolishness, is to just ignore that deep existential dread and pretend it isn't there. Ecclesiastes just forces you to confront it head-on.
So, after you've been through that cold, empty hell, where do you go? Well, our map takes us to Act 2, the fires of purgatory. And this is the book of Job. Here, life isn't meaningless. Oh no, it's defined by intense suffering. The question is no longer, is there a point? The question becomes, how on earth can I endure this?
The entire book of Job just vibrates with this agonizing tension. On one side, you have Job's faith, the belief that God is just, that good people are rewarded. But on the other side, you have his actual experience. Everything has been violently ripped away from him, for no reason, and God is completely silent. His life has become a brutal contradiction of his beliefs. And this right here, this is the absolute key to the whole story. Job's friends show up, and they have all the right theological answers. They have their doctrines perfectly lined up. But they speak about God. Job, he does something radically different. He yells, he cries, he accuses, but he always speaks to God. He keeps that line of communication open, even if all he's doing is shouting into the storm. And here's the big twist. In the end, God shows up and basically says, Job was right and you guys were wrong. How is that possible? His friends had the correct theology. It's because Job, in all his rage and his pain, was still in a relationship. He refused to turn God into an idea to be debated. He treated God like a person who was present, even if silent. His relationship was authentic, and that's what mattered. That's how he passed the trial of purgatory. Which brings us to the final act of our journey, the ascent into heaven. After the bleakness of vanity, after the trial of suffering, the Song of Songs presents the ultimate philosophy, the final answer,
Life is love.
The Song of Songs just peels back the layers on love's true nature. It shows us that love is a dialogue, a real back and forth. It's accurate. Love isn't blind. It sees the true, objective beauty in the other person, a beauty that maybe only God can see. It's fearless, right? It casts out fear because in perfect love, there's just no room for judgment. And maybe most profoundly, it's a total exchange of selves. That line, "My beloved is mine and I am his," that's a mystery that breaks math. Two become one without ceasing to be two. It's incredible.
And here it is, the climax of the entire journey. What force in the universe can stand up to the finality of death, the very thing that caused all of Ecclesiastes' despair? Only one thing: love. The book says it straight out. Love is as strong as death. It's the only thing that can step onto the battlefield with death and not lose.
And this is what it's all been leading to. Love is the definitive answer to the problem of vanity. It's the one pursuit, the one toil under the sun that isn't a chasing after wind. It's the one thing that has the scent of eternity on it, the one thing that actually becomes more fulfilling the more you do it because its source isn't really from this world.
So, we've journeyed from hell to purgatory and into heaven. We've gone from vanity through suffering and finally arrived at love. But here's the most important part. This isn't just some ancient map. It's a map of our own lives.
Let's just crystallize this whole thing. Ecclesiastes, the philosophy is vanity, the mood is boredom, and it shows us our desperate need for faith. Job, the philosophy is suffering, the mood is despair, and it teaches us the absolute necessity of hope. And the Song of Songs, the philosophy is love, the mood is pure joy, and it embodies charity, the greatest virtue of all.
You know, the reason this map is so powerful is that these aren't just abstract ideas. They are actual stages of the human heart. We have all had moments, or maybe even long seasons, of feeling that everything is just vanity. We have all faced our own suffering that tests us to our very core. And hopefully, we have all experienced the transcendent power of love.
And that brings us to the final question, the one this entire explainer has been leading to. Looking at this map of the human journey, the bleak plains of vanity, the fiery mountains of suffering, or the green gardens of love, in which of these places do you find yourself living right now?